Hello viewer, this episode is all about Dr. Manhattan. I'll be analysing his powers, known limitations, and ways to possibly deal with him. Disclaimers first, please support the official material. Stuff I show here is for informative purposes, and spoilers. On with the show. I will be looking at Watchmen, issues 1 to 12, Doomsday Clock, issues 1 to 12, and a little bit from Death Metal, Legends of Dark Knights, to analyze Dr. Manhattan. Okay, for some context, Dr. Manhattan, birth name John Osterman, was a physicist who got his powers in an accident. He was locked in a reactor and blasted by nuclear radiation. Stuff happened, and he learned how to use his powers, thus becoming Dr. Manhattan. So, about Dr. Manhattan's powers, he can pretty much alter reality. He can live anywhere without the need for food, water, or air. Also, he can simultaneously perceive past and future events in the present. At first, it looks like he has limited control on what past or future events he does see, but it appears later on he's learned how to control it with a little trick I'll get into. To get an idea of Dr. Manhattan's powers, here are a few examples. He created a house or spaceship from nothing on Mars, can disintegrate anything with a thought, teleport himself and other people or things at will. He can also alter his size and create duplicates of himself, seemingly with the exact same powers. Now, for really crazy feats, he has been shown able to travel between different universes throughout the DC multiverse, and it's implied he can create life. He wasn't shown able to create a universe, but definitely has altered a universe's timeline significantly, with relative ease. To elaborate on Dr. Manhattan's timeline alteration, he finds interest in Superman, seeing him as a constant beacon of hope throughout all the different universes. He plays around with a certain universe's timeline to so-called challenge Superman's symbol of hope, which involves stopping Alan Scott from finding the Green Lantern, which stuff happens, which also creates a new metaverse, as they explain it, which is implied to be DC's New 52 universe. So then more stuff happens, and he instantly reverts the changes he made. In terms of raw power, Dr. Manhattan has been shown able to take on almost everyone in the Justice League, minus Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman. He's shown able to incapacitate, or at least heavily stun, the members of the Justice League he was fighting at the time, with a single blast relatively easily. Oh, and he's able to resist against magic, and is shown easily destroying a Green Lantern ring. As powerful as Dr. Manhattan is shown to be, he does have a few limitations. The first one is his particle law relationship with tachyons, theoretical particles that move faster than light. It's shown that blasting Dr. Manhattan with tachyons would destroy his physical energy body. Also, lingering tachyons within his vicinity will mess up his perceptions of future events. It also messes up how he perceives present day events. Next, given he simultaneously perceives past, present, and future events, he does need some sort of a time anchor to help him focus on all these different events. For Dr. Manhattan, he strikes up a friendship with an actor named Carver Coleman that he meets up with every now and then to act as his anchor. This is what later on helps him to focus on specific events in the past and future. Also, it appears any telepath can relatively easily read his mind, though it is unknown if he is susceptible to telepathic mind attacks, as there is no indication characters like Morlock or Martian Manhunter ever attempted it. And one other thing that could be considered both a strength and weakness is that good old John feels emotions like any other human. On that note, he has a quirk of leaving behind photos of himself and his late wife Jane in places he's visited. It's never stated exactly why he does this. My interpretation is that he was, for lack of better words, feeling down and subconsciously creates these photos to cope. And the photo is a reminder of possibly his happiest time before he became Dr. Manhattan, when he was dating Jane. A possibly exploitable quirk is that Dr. Manhattan can be tracked down and even forcibly summoned in one place with the right equipment. This boils down to Dr. Manhattan emitting a distinct type of energy where a smart guy with resources can build a device, or genetically modified cat in this case, to track him. Summoning him in one place requires the special cat to interact with an object that Dr. Manhattan has come in contact with. And one last thing, Dr. Manhattan does not appear to have infinite power. Vastly powerful, yes, but there's still a limit to his vast power. It is shown that he uses the last remaining ounces of his power to remove all nuclear weapons in the Watchmen universe. And he also transferred some of his powers and abilities to a kid that would presumably become the Superman symbol of hope in the Watchmen universe. Okay, now that we know Dr. Manhattan's powers and limitations, how does one, say, defeat or deal with him? Aside from being more powerful than and being able to negate his powers. Well, here's what we know. As demonstrated by Batman Who Laughs, you could kill a Dr. Manhattan-like character just after they get their powers with an energy knife, before they are able to fully harness their powers. Otherwise, if Dr. Manhattan does get a handle of his powers, they can pretty much reform themselves, as shown when he was blasted by tachyons, and also by Captain Atom's radiation blast. Now, the most effective way of dealing with Dr. Manhattan is to reason with him. At the end of the day, he is a person just like you or me, despite his vast power. It worked the first time with Ozymandias, who had previously also blasted Dr. Manhattan with tachyon particles. And, despite his questionable means to justify his ends, Dr. Manhattan let Ozymandias have his way when he was shown the results of these questionable means. And even when Dr. Manhattan sees that Ozymandias' plan didn't work in the future, the good doctor still leaves him be, possibly due to pity. And reasoning with him works a second time when we see Superman use one of his greatest abilities, showing a better way, where Superman leads by example, talking things out with Dr. Manhattan rather than fighting him. This is what inspires the good doctor to change the timeline back to normal and sacrifice himself to create a new Superman for the Watchmen universe to become that new beacon of hope. In conclusion, there are two main ways of dealing with Dr. Manhattan. If you are not a super powerful being who can negate his powers. The first method requires killing him with a special weapon before he can learn to use his powers. But the most effective way is negotiating or reasoning with him. Of course, that's just me. Check out the story yourself and make your own judgments. Okay, that's all for today. Hope you had a new, clear understanding of Dr. Manhattan. Thanks for watching and hope to feat you again.